I've always loved arcade racing over racing sims. The fantasy of power sliding dangerously through mountain pass corners or catching air off the top of a hill in an expensive exotic car is a kind of cartoonish badassery that will always beat agonizing over brake calipers or tire pressure, no matter how much Formula One I've gotten into. And I've gotten into it a fair bit. New regulations here. What that means is they kind of rebuild the cars because they have new rules for the cars and the engines and the limits, and like all the cars are smaller. They have like half electric engines, etc. So I'm always going to gravitate to the next Need for Speed or Burnout to chase that action movie inspired high. Enter Screamer, a goofy anime-inspired arcade racer that boasts a full story mode with an eclectic cast of characters whose intertwined stories drip more drama than a Real Housewives episode.
You killed my boss.
Uh-huh.
Burned down his club.
Uh-huh.
Shot off my arm.
Roisin did that.
But the cheesy caricatures aren't the reason Screamer stole my attention. The devs at Milestone chose to take the industry standard yet fun arcade racing control scheme from their previous Hot Wheels Unleashed games and throw it out, instead implementing a dual-stick drifting mechanic and active reload-like gear shifting. This is all in addition to the game's timing-based boosting mechanic and combat racing style power-ups and abilities, which are dependent on a fighting game like Super Meter. On paper, this insane complication of tried-and-true racing game controls seems antithetical to good game design philosophies. KISS, or Keep It Simple, Stupid, is a time-tested mantra that asks creatives and designers to boil their projects down to the simplest elements in order to find the paths of least resistance and create a purer connection between the intention and the goal. Games very often work like this as well. Immersion is gained the more you can erode the disconnect between the player and their actions on screen. But sometimes, simple isn't enough. If we compare Screamer to any of the top arcade racing franchises today, for example Forza Horizon, the latter have all adopted the same base mechanics for vehicle controls. You can accelerate, brake, or e-brake at the press of a button, with cornering skills being based around recognizing your car's entry speed, turning angle, and braking window. It's a fun if simplified facsimile of driving fast, at least when driving in automatic. But let's be real for a second here. Racers never drive in automatic. The manual option in arcade racers adds sequential gear shifting, also expressed by pressing buttons for shifting either up or down. But this has consistently annoyed me. An actual manual transmission engages all four limbs. The left foot presses down on the clutch to disengage the gear, the right hand pulls and shifts the gear stick. Then the right foot applies acceleration while simultaneously releasing the clutch with the left foot, leaving the left hand to steer. All of that body motion is reduced to a single button press, and I've always found it to be dull. So while arcade manual transmissions are simple and functionally get the job done, they kind of fail to translate the kinetic nature of actually shifting gears in a car. Racing a car is about bending a complicated piece of machinery to your will and extracting the maximum amount of performance out of it. It shouldn't feel like there's no friction between you and that mastery. The sequence of hand and foot movements is arguably the fun part. So, in addition to KISS as a sacred design philosophy, might I introduce Smash as the next step. Simple moments as skill hurdles. Think about choosing to balance on the curb instead of just walking down the sidewalk, or shooting balled up trash from across the room instead of dropping it in the bin. We find entertainment in making something simple or easy just a little more skill-based, and I think that's something games tend to harness in interesting ways. One of my favorite games of the last few years broke many existing conventions with its choice of control scheme. Chorus from Fish Labs is a space dogfighting game that controls closer to a first-person shooter. Instead of control over your pitch and roll, the entirety of your starfighter is maneuvered with the right stick in the way you would aim a gun in a shooter, with acceleration and braking using up and down on the left stick. With the press of a button though, you can strafe and maintain your trajectory while aiming the ship in any direction you choose. It was clear the entire control scheme was built to support this drift functionality, as it opens up a wealth of aerial maneuverability that just makes sense in the setting of space. It also uses mystical powers to solve another dogfighting frustration by being able to teleport directly behind a ship in your sights in order to effectively chase down enemies. The blueprint for space dogfighting games had long ago been laid out, but Fish Labs was brave enough to throw the whole thing out to find something that worked better for the exact experience they wanted to make. It was no longer simple, but it was absolutely more fun. Similarly, in Screamer, you tap a button to shift up when accelerating. but you have to time it with your RPM gauge reaching its max, which rewards you with an extra boost of speed when successful. Visual and sound cues help make that sweet spot easier to hit, but keep in mind you're doing this in the midst of a race. For some corners, when you drift, you're turning the car with both thumbsticks, as the right stick swings the tail to adjust your slide angle. At any given moment in a race, you're pressing down the right trigger to drive, tapping the left shoulder button for gear switching, swapping to the left trigger to start braking, then flicking the sticks, sometimes in competing directions, to start cornering as you reapply acceleration. My fingers and brain are a lot busier in these races versus any other that I've played in the past, and I love it. Screamer takes a simple solution for replicating a manual transmission and slightly overcomplicates it to more accurately emulate the race car experience. It does the same with drifting and boosting, which adds up to make an arcade racer that feels overwhelming at first, but infinitely more engaging once the nuances sink in. The evolution from Kiss to Smash suggests that once the basics are cemented, ask where there's space to complicate the process, for just that little bit of extra excitement. The way things have always been done might not be the best way forward, and it never hurts for players to be pushed out of their comfort zones. Because you never know, they might be into it.